All right, so for this one, we're going to try to do this on our own, right? So let's see if you guys got the same answer that I'm going to get. Hopefully we all have the same answer. So for the first one, they want us to add them, right? So we have f plus g of x. Whoops. F plus g of x equals f of x plus g of x. I don't know why it does that randomly. Alright, so then what's f of x? Well, it's negative 2x to the 2/3 plus whatever g of x is, which is 7x to the 2/3. So now here's an interesting thing. When you have x's raised to the same power, you're really just combining like terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 2, negative 2, and 7, right? So what's 7 minus 2? Just 5. And then we have x to the 2/3. Now I just graded a test, and you know what was funny is that remember that it is the power over the root for rational exponents. So that means that this is really 5, and we're going to take the cube root of x squared. Okay. Some people got that wrong. There was a question on part 2 of the test where some kids put the root over the power. All right, so then when we think about that, they want us to define the domain for this. Well, you could take, if it's an odd root, because this is a 3, it's all real numbers. There's no restrictions there. So for this one, the domain all real numbers. And some mathematicians will say all reals. Not reels like Instagram or Facebook, but like real numbers. That's the thing that they write down. Okay? And then lastly, we're asked to evaluate this at 8. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the very formal notation. I'm going to say f plus g of 8 is equal to 5 times the cube root of 8, and then whatever that is, I'm going to square it. Right? So wherever there's an x, I'm going to plug in an 8. I should also mention that 2 to the 3rd power is equal to 8. So on my next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5 times the 3rd root of 2 to the 3rd power squared. Now remember, if you use, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we have to deal with all the exponent stuff first. And you go from the innermost thing to the outermost thing. In other words, this 3 cancels with this 3. And so really what I'm left with is 5 times 2 squared. Well, what's 2 squared? 4, right? Because I got to do the exponents first. And then what's 5 times 4? 20. So in other words, if I say f plus g of 8, I get 20. In other words, if I graph this, there will be a point on the line 8, 20. I put in my value for x, and it spits out the y value of 20. Now, we could verify this very simply by putting it in the calculator, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to simply put it in the calculator. So I go back to y equals, going to hit clear, I'm going to hit clear, And I'm just going to say negative 2x raised to the 2 divided by 3 plus 7 times x raised to the 2 divided by 3. And I'm going to hit second table. And we were evaluating it at 8. So when x equals 8, y equals 20. Now I suppose if I wanted to do, if I wanted to make sure, remember that's also the same as 5 times x raised to the 2 divided by 3. That was our composite function. So now when I hit table, I get both the values. And they're all the same, so I didn't make a mistake. Okay? That makes sense? All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one. So then the next one says we're going to do f minus g of x. And that's the same as saying f of x minus g of x. So in that line, I'm going to say negative 2x to the 2/3 minus, in parentheses, 7x to the 2/3. So now we still combine like terms, right? In other words, this is like negative 7 and negative 2, which will give me negative 9, right? If I combine this and I have a negative 7 times x to the 2/3. And so then that's negative 9 cube root of x squared. So essentially it's very similar to the other problem. What's the domain of the new composite function? All reals, right? The domain is all reals. And that's short for all real numbers. Remember, I told you mathematicians try to find little shortcuts. They don't like to write a lot of words down. And they find themselves writing the same thing over and over, so they shorten things a bit. So then the last thing that we're supposed to do is we're supposed to evaluate this. Whoops, hit the wrong thing. We're supposed to evaluate this, f minus g at 8. Oops, I put the 8 in. Oh well. And we know what the cube root of 8 squared is, right? Doesn't this whole thing here become 4? So this is negative 9 times 4, right? So then f minus g of 8, I got to slide this over a little bit because my face is in the way, is equal to negative 36. How do I verify that? Well, I just go back to my calculator, and we're going to do something like this. I'm just going to go back to y equals, and I'm going to change this to minus 7x to the 2/3. And then down here, this becomes negative, and then I'm just going to hit 9. Whoops, I got to delete that. Now when I hit second table, yep, when x equals 8, my y value equals 36, or I'm sorry, negative 36. What does that mean? That means that on the graph somewhere, there'll be a point 8 comma negative 36. Is that what you guys got? If you didn't get that or you don't know what to do, now is the best time to ask questions. If you don't want to ask questions in front of people, privately email me and say, Mr. Adams, can I come to SRT? I don't understand how to do that. Now is the best time to figure this out. Don't wait until we're the night before the test. If you figure this out, because we're going to come back to this. So try to figure this out now. Okay? Alright, I'm going to leave this up here for you guys to finish writing it down.